Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. As you can see here, we are back in the garage working on the Countach project. In today's video, what I want to try to get done is I want to get the side windows. It's 3 panels in each door. I want to get those cut so we can get those ready. We still need to give the final coat of paint and clear coat on this vehicle. I've been waiting for the springtime to kick in, which is coming up very soon. We've already upgraded our compressor for the spray gun, all that stuff. So once it warms up just a little bit, we'll do a light sanding on this and do the final coat of paint and clear coat, and then we can start putting the windows back, all the vents and details. So I want to get those windows cut for that. And then if we have time, I want to also work here on the pop-up headlights. What I'd like to do today is start wiring, well, rewiring. Right now we have the wires set for other headlights and the turn signals that were wrong when we got the car. But what I want to do is start routing them to the right bulbs, and then if we have time, start looking at the wiring and testing the pop-up headlight motors so we can get ready to start mounting those. Don't know if we'll get to all that in this video, but let's go ahead and get started. So if we look at this door here, you can see that it's broken up into 3 pieces. You have your top glass, your lower glass, and then this front piece here, which is how the real Countach has it. When I originally got this car, it wasn't set up that way. It had a big pillar coming down right here on a wrong angle, and it just had 2 pieces. I had to cut it and modify it. Here's some clips of that. So what I did then, and I was fortunate because during the course of this restoration of this replica, I had access to a real Lamborghini Countach for probably about 12 to 13 months. It was a Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV. If you've been following my channel, you probably saw some of the videos I did with it, but if not, I'll have them down in the description. I'll also have a link across the top with one of those. But I was able to get some measurements off of that and use it as a reference on where this one was off, what needed to be done. Some things, unfortunately, because the kit that this was not the best, I'd have to pretty much redo the whole kit. So I was only able to modify things that made sense to do. So one of them was the windows. So I got measurements of the actual glass panels and then created my own templates to do the flat bar at the right angles. The top and bottom flat bar placement and the window sizes are right on point. This front one is the one that's off. And the reason being, mine comes forward longer because you can see on my door, this piece comes like longer like this. On the real one, it cuts down more like that right here because when the door is closed, the windshield is the right width up top, but then it kind of comes like this, wider to here. So this part of the door is actually curved more like that on that angle. So mine's a little bit longer here in the front. Looking at this Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV, you can see the windshield getting wider and the angle there on that door window that I'm talking about. Also from this side and this angle, you can see it as well. So what I'm doing, I'm not using glass. I'm using actually polycarbonate, and the reason I'm doing that is because I can get it very easy and it's easy to work with. I can shape it properly. I didn't want to be spending the money on glass when I had that. And polycarbonate and PETG, they're good plastics that you can use for replicas or kit cars that you might be working on because they have high durability on them. They don't break. They don't discolor like acrylic. You definitely don't want to be using acrylic because that can crack and splinter and all that stuff, get all cloudy. So you don't want to waste time with that. So we are going to be using polycarbonate. So let's head over to the other side and I'll show you the templates. Bring this down so you can see it better. So you have the panels that we just talked about. Let me grab these templates that I made. This is what we're going to be using. So this is our bottom window, right? So this is going to fit right in here. And the way that I have it set up is it's going to rest about halfway on the flat bar. So it's going to be coming in here, and I'm using 3/16, so that way it'll match up with the door slightly down, so that way when I put the black weather stripping molding around it, it'll be nice and flush like on the real one. So this is going to be this one. So it's going to fit right about here. It's going to be coming about half into this flat bar, half into that, so that way the other pane can now come onto the other half. So it'll go this way. It'll be like that. And then coming up a little bit further, make it just a little bit bigger. And then this is our piece here for the front. Lays right in there like that. That's how our glass panels are going to look. Like I said, I'm going to make them a little bit oversized from this. That way it fits perfect. But the way that I'm going to attach it, because on the real one, these two windows are fixed. They're in there. The bottom one goes down till it hits right here on this door panel. So you've only got about maybe 3 inches, maybe 4 inches max that it can go down. I wasn't even going to waste time putting in the mechanisms and doing all that stuff just for 3 to 4 inches, run the risk of leaking and all that nonsense. So what we're going to do is just cut these out, not putting them in today because, like I mentioned already, we got to wait till the final top coat of paint and clear coat is done. Then we'll actually mount them in. But I'm just going to silicone them in all along here and along there. So that way it'll be a tight bond, no risk of water or anything getting in. And then once we put the black along it, it'll look beautiful. It'll look like the real thing. So let's head over here and take a look at the polycarbonate. I have this sheet here, as I mentioned already. It's 3/16, so it'll fit in there perfect. It's a 3x3 piece that I had cut at work because we have a lot of this material, scrap material. And as you can see, it does have the protective film on it because when we're cutting it, we don't want to be scratching that. But I probably will put a little bit of a kind of a strip of tape where we're cutting as well, just as extra protection. So I'm going to take these panels. We're going to lay them out on here, draw them out. On the other door, it's a little bit off. When I did the flat bar, it's slightly off. So we're going to take these yellow templates, move them over there, tweak them accordingly, draw them out on here too, and then we'll just cut everything in one shot. And what I like about this, the polycarbonate, is I can put a heat gun to it slightly, and I can curve the panels just a little bit. Because on a real Lamborghini Countach, they're not flat. Like on a lot of replicas and kit cars, they do them flat, and it doesn't look right. On the real ones, it's got a slight curve, as shown here. So the goal is to get these cut out and then heat it up just a little bit to shape it, to give it a little bit of that curve. Because when I did the flat bar, I already curved it to accommodate for that slight radius in there. So let's draw these up so we can get cutting. These have all been cut. They still need to be kind of fine-tuned, so I'm going to lay these in place so you can see it. You'll see this one here lays perfect, but you can see how it's real straight. It needs to be bent to curve with that. That'll be done at a later date. Today I just wanted to get these cut so we could start laying stuff in place, see how it looks. That one lays like that. And this one lays up top. There we go. Kind of gives you an idea how it's going to look. Once I clean them up and sand them nice and smooth, shape them a little bit better, they'll fall right in place, and then we'll bend it. We're not getting into that today. I just wanted to cut it. But let me get a close-up of this. Also do the other side. You can see how they're laying in there. And as I pull back here, you can see how they're flat. Once they're curved, they will match that flat bar that's curved. Let's check here on the other side. Look at this one. Same thing with these. And also, they need to just be shaped up a little bit. I cut them pretty basic right here. But as they're sanded, they'll fall in a little bit better. They'll be curved, they'll fall in. Then once they're silicone in, then we'll put the black seals in between here, along here, come in there and up. And then there's a black corner piece that goes here. And then there's this piece here that goes on that angle. That'll be done. So, and another thing that I'm sure you've noticed is they're very foggy right now because I still left the protective film on the both sides of the polycarbonate, because until we're ready to put them in, I don't want them getting scratched up. So I left that on there. So that's what you're seeing, giving it that cloudy look. Normally it'll be crystal clear. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be looking at are the headlights, the wiring of them. And if you've been following this restoration project, you'll know when I first got this vehicle, it did not have the pop-up headlights. I wound up having to cut out the body, make the cans for them, all that stuff. And when I first got it, the headlights were actually where the turn signals are on a real Countach. Take a look. Just have to do the fog lights next. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. So here's parking lights. Everything's working good. Headlights, working good. Let's try the high beams. Here we go. Have your left turn signal. Right turn signal. Everything's looking good. So as time went on, I decided to do them as pop-up headlights to make them like the real thing. So the next thing that we need to do, because we have the wiring in here now, when I turn on the parking lights, we had the turn signals that would obviously come on. And then when I would turn on the regular headlights, you had the headlights that would come on, and then the high beams would come on. Well, on a real Lamborghini Countach, you have the orange turn signals are down where the headlights were originally in this car, but this car had them lower. They had, I don't know, some concoction where they had them where the fog lights are supposed to be. We've since then moved all that. Fog lights are where they need to be. So what I'm going to be doing now is we're going to be taking the wires that went to the old turn signals, moving them to where they need to be, and then in return, we're going to be moving the headlights for the low beam and high beams and moving them to these headlights here. If you've been following my channel, you'll remember when I bought these, but we have these round lights here like on the real Countach. So we're going to be wiring those up to connect to these, so when we turn them on, they'll be in the cans where they pop up. You'll have the low beams on the one side, the high beams on the inside. We'll get all that connected. And then the last part that I want to get to in this video, and I don't know if we're going to be able to, is I want to start testing how we're going to wire up the pop-up motors for the pop-up headlights to get that situated, because the way it should be is everything's down, you turn your headlights on, they pop up, and then you can turn on your high beams, but you also have the little lights that come on next to the turn signals that also come on with the headlights, so we got to wire that up as well. So I'm going to turn these on and show you what we're dealing with now, and then we'll start that whole process. Here's our parking lights. You can see that's on. And here's our fog lights. Here's our headlights. And here's our high beams. As you just saw when I was cycling through the lights, we have our parking lights and signals down here, which is wrong. On the real Countach, they're up here, so that's where we're going to be moving them. You normally have an intake vent that goes here, which I have those. We'll put them in later. Fog lights are in the right spot. If you've been following the progress of everything, you would have seen when I first got it, the fog lights were down here somewhere. They were in the wrong spot, and they had these signal lights here. We moved them over. We enlarged the openings to be able to properly fit the fog lights. Now, once the car is done, they'll be mounted properly. Right now, they're just kind of falling back in there, but normally they're going to be like this. They're going to be locked up like that, right in place, like on the real one. So what I'm going to do now, as you saw, and I just have this here holding it together. Normally, the housing that they were in originally, the ground wire was screwed in. That's why I'm just using these alligator clips to hold them in right now. Take that off. This is our low beam. This is our high beam. We need to move them now into here. So this is going to be our low beams. This is going to be our high beams. And I'm going to get the actual fixture in a minute. But you have your turn signal here, and then you have a small light, a regular white light that goes here on the outer side, and that goes along with, or actually, I'm sorry, it's on the inside. So when you turn your headlights on, this one will light up, and then the inside one will light up. And then this is your high beam here in the middle. So what we're going to be doing now is I'm going to get my the 5-inch bulbs that go in here. We're going to get them mounted, put the bezels in to hold them in place. Then we're going to rewire them, and then we'll probably wrap up this video. I don't think I'm going to have time to be setting up the headlight motor for the pop-up headlights, so that'll be on the next video. So let me go ahead. I'm going to get everything over here. We'll take a look at it, and then we'll start moving all the wiring around. Here's all the components that we're going to be using. I have these 4 Wagner 5-inch bulbs right here. We have the H5001s. Those are our high beams. Then we have our H5006s. Those are our low beams. So those are going to be the ones. I'll open one and show you what it looks like. This is what's going in there. This is the actual Countach size. And then I picked a set of these bezels here that'll just slide right over and screw in to the housing that I made. Now these are obviously chrome, which are going to be repainted. They need to be all matte black. So once I'm done painting the car and those pop-up headlight canisters are all repainted, that'll all get painted. But for now, that's what we're going to be using. So that's what we're going to be putting in. Then you have these. These originally came with the car. These were the headlights, the low beam and high beams originally. If you've been following this series, you would have seen that. But what I did is I went ahead and refinished these to be this nice amber. If you want to see the video where I showed how to restore headlights like this, these old glass ones, they were starting to fade. They originally were amber, but they were fading away, so I had to recoat them. The link is across the top, also down in the description. So this is going to be our turn signal. This is going to be the one that comes on with the headlights and then the high beams. So let's head over to the vehicle so we can start getting these in place and kind of rerouting the wires and get that all wrapped up. Just to show you what's going on. So these bulbs fit perfectly in here. So that's how it'll go in. Then we'll take this bezel and we'll screw that in, holding that in place. And then, like I said, once we repaint it, this whole part of the can for this is going to be matte black anyway. So we'll paint this with it. And then the sides will be painted silver to match the vehicle. But this will be our low beams, our high beams. So we need to put those in. And then if we look here on the back of the bulb, normally you have a harness. We're going to make our own harness because we have right here with the male-female connectors. Our red wire is our low beam. Our white wire is the high beam. So I'm going to take this. We're going to put the red here on this single point, and then these are our grounds here on the side. So then we'll ground that, and then we'll do the same with the high beam. I'm not going to go through all that. So what I'm going to do next is get these drilled out and mounted on here, and then we'll start attaching the wires, and then we'll test it out, and then we'll move on here to the signal, and then the other one, and then that'll wrap this up. You'll notice here when I put it down, there's a gap here. It's kind of popped up here. It's not really level. I just have this hinging just kind of roughly in place. You can see it's still kind of loose. I don't have it tightened. Once we get all this taken care of and the car is painted and ready to actually be put back together to be on the road, I'm going to go back, get this lined up properly, and just get all that leveled out so it's nice and flush with the body, not sticking up here. This doesn't have that big gap and it's not all loose. It'll be nice and secure. Let's see if I can kind of show you. But this is going to be like that. So it'll be nice and smooth like that. it won't be all flopping around, and then just need to tweak it this way to lay that down. But you can see as far as the lights, that's how it'll look. We have our low beams, our high beams, as mentioned already. This right here looks bad right now because it's all chrome, and you see the screws. All that's going to be nice and painted black. I may even put just a little cover over here to make it all smooth and cover all that, but we'll see at the end. But right now, I just want to get these in place. So the next thing I'm going to do, because we were testing that, I'm going to take this back off. We're going to get it wired up. I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll be back to look at everything for the headlights and low beams and high beams complete. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other side in. We're going to get it all wired up, and then we'll be back to look at it before we move on down here to the turn signals. We're going to try it now. So you have parking light on, headlights, high beams, low beams, off. As you just saw, it looks good. We have everything rewired in the proper place. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy right here. We're going to move this one to here, and that will take care of this side, and then we'll move on to the other side and then wrap it up. But let me get a close up here. This thing is like zip tied together, all kind of stuff going on here, but we'll move that. Snip these guys off. So we have, you can see the wires coming in here. Just going to move that. Oh, wait a minute, this may be a double filament. We need to move that up here. Let me see what needs to be done. We'll be right back. Remove that ground. We're going to need this actually fished up. I can bring it up. May need to extend it. We'll extend that wire, and then we have these here. Yeah, this is a double filament. What I was going to do is just use this one, since I already have it, but I believe that's a single, because I can't use this bulb. It won't fit into that housing. So, what I'm going to need to do then, may have to snip this. Snip these wires off. All right, we'll be right back. I got to do some changing around here the wires, and then we'll be back to test it inside the proper housing. Just finished rewiring everything. I'm going to go in here, we're going to try it and see if it's doing its job. So, parking lights on. That looks good. Now let's turn on headlights. Nice. So we have our headlights on. This one's brighter than it's appearing right here, unfortunately. You're seeing it looks kind of dim. Head on, it's a lot brighter. Let's do the high beams. Okay, so high beams on. And I need to see what's going on here. The native wiring in this vehicle is having high beams come on, that goes off. I want these to stay on, and then that comes on as the added light instead of those going out, but that'll be for another time. I just need to find out what's happening there with that. Turn that off. Let's see. All right, let's see if I turn this off and do hazards, will that blink? It is blinking very dimly because that's not a double filament bulb that's in there. I need to change out that bulb to a double filament to solve that, but at least that's working. Here's a better shot of it head on so you can see it better. You have that. Headlights, high beams, low beams. So it's looking good. Things are coming along. Just need to get that double filament so that way when it flashes bright. May give another couple coats of the orange coating on the glass, make it a little bit darker. If you see here, like on a regular one, because it's molded in orange, this one's glass, it's a little bit more amber when it glows. And then this light fixture here, the way I have it, it's here on the outside. Normally it should be. Once this vehicle is done, it will be mounted here on the inside. So you won't be looking at it out. So it'll be like that. So I'm going to go ahead and wire up the other side. Get all that set up. I'm not going to show it in here because we already kind of went through it with this one. Get all that set up. I'm going to get these positioned properly. Then we'll wrap up the video, seeing how everything looks completed. And then that'll call it a day for this project here. Like I said, unfortunately, we're not getting to the pop-up headlight motors. That'll be on the next video. So let me get that done and then we'll be back. Everything looks good. Everything has been rewired for the low beams, high beams, parking lights, all that stuff. They're not permanently in place because, as mentioned already, with the final paint and stuff still ahead. I'm not going to get into that now. Once that's done, though, then these lights will be recessed in and just popping through instead of just laying in there. You'll notice here with this one, there's a big gap. I need to align that better. Also, this little lip, I think I made it too small on this one, too short, so I need to adjust that. But for today's project, really wanted to focus on getting the windows cut out, which we did, and then getting the 5-inch or 5.5, I'm not sure what they are off the top of my head, but getting all those mounted into these cans, all the proper light placements rewired. Did want to do the pop-up headlight motors, but as we already talked about, didn't get to that, unfortunately, in this episode. That'll be in the next episode. We'll focus on getting that in place because you'll notice I have some little wooden blocks holding these lights up right now. Normally, obviously, they would be held up by the motors and then pulled back in when they're off. So I'm going to get a close-up of these as we fire them up, and then we'll wrap up this video. Here we have our parking lights. We have our fog lights down here at the bottom. Here's our regular headlights. Now we'll do high beams. High beams are on. And then now we're back down to our regular low beam headlights. Parking lights off. Fog lights off. that looked really good as we cycled through. It also looks neat. Now you see the pop-up headlights out. It looks cool, adding to that iconic classic Lamborghini Countach look. As mentioned already here, where we had the turn signal and the parking lights where we took them out, normally that's going to be vents coming in for the radiator. Also need to get the lower spoiler under here coming down. That'll cover the radiator mount. But that wraps up this time in the garage working on the Countach project. I hope that this video was informative for you and enjoyable. If you're into this restoration project, I'll have links down in the description all the way back to the first video I did and kind of showing you where we are at this point. Hopefully we'll be getting this thing on the road this year. Next time in the garage, we'll be focusing on the motors for getting these things up and down. We'll also get these aligned properly so they set nice and smooth instead of popped up a little bit. Right here, you can see that gap that we already talked about. Just need to adjust this to get it more centered, and also probably have to remake this lip to make it a little bit wider to match that one so we don't have that gap. But that wraps up this video. Please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.